Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And tonight, we're going to talk about topics that nobody likes to talk about. EA. EA is at it again. What do you mean? Well, what's the worst way that you can tell people they no longer have a job? Besides just locking the door and letting them show up to work with a note on the door, EA decided to have Magnet Global, which is their contract agency, tell everybody there's a mandatory Zoom call at 8 a.m. And during this 8 a.m. call, they decided to lay off the entire Louisiana office, which was pretty much 200 QA team members. This is according to a Kotaku article, but it's been confirmed on Twitter and a bunch of other stuff. And just like true to EA's normal form, they declined to talk about their global plans and strategies, which is key for, we know we look bad in the public eyes and we don't care. You know, EA is going to do what EA does, is exactly what the theme should be. It's not EA what's in you or EA whatever. It's like EA does what the hell EA wants to do. And you gamers can just suck it. That's what their motto should just be. But they're a dirtbag company. They've always been a dirtbag company, and now they're laid off. Basically, from what I understand, this is all part of their Apex Legends QA testing team. Or not all of them, but 200. The Baton Rouge office, all 200 of them were on the Apex Legends QA testing team. The Baton Rouge, Louisiana office, we should say. So, and its services being provided, like I said, by a third-party provider. So the Magnet Global company, which manages their, I guess, contractors, if you will, because they're all contractors. It says that they're employees, but technically it sounds like they're contractors for Magnet, who basically contracted with EA to do these QA testing, which happens. Companies hire QA and development from third parties when they need to ramp up, when they need to basically scale up for a temporary amount of time, or who knows, permanent time. I mean, I've seen contractors stay on for years. And either go permanent or they disband the project or whatever. I'm looking at you, HP, looking at you, Quickens and all those groups, but, so I feel bad for these people. 200 people let go in a mandatory last minute Zoom call at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you had to get up, do your whole routine, get ready for work, join a mandatory Zoom call that you wonder what this is all about. And then they say, hey, guess what? If your last name starts with A and ends with Z, get out the door. We're closing it down. So that's true EA fashion right there. But like I said, it wasn't EA who technically did. I'm sure EA ended their contract with Magnet Global, so which means that those people are the ones that are staffing for that position, and they basically had to let everybody go. Sucks. It really does suck, but we're in massive tech layoffs right now. We went from this whole technology upshift and upswing where people were getting exorbitant salaries so that companies could fulfill their needs for technical people, the whole great resignation and quiet quitting and all that. And it seems like the market is readjusting, is self-adjusting now, right? All these highly exorbitant salaries that people were leaving for are now making waves in the technology industry, because now the companies are like, hey, we have to self-write this. We have bloated our teams and we can't afford these super high salaries. Unfortunately, that's the way it seems, because Google's doing it, Microsoft's doing it, Amazon's doing it. All the big players in technology are doing it. Game companies, EA is just the next in line. It's one gaming company after another right now, and one technology. I mean, the big three cloud companies, Google, GCP, Amazon, AWS, and Microsoft Azure, all three of those parent companies have laid off a crap ton of people. Because the market's readjusting. So it's unfortunately a product of our own doing. People have gotten into this position where they requested a lot of money and companies can't afford to pay it, and they bloated their entire staff to try to compensate for a massive exodus of people. They're like, oh my God, we lost 100 people. Let's hire 150 so that we can absorb a cost of another 50 people leaving. Or let's hire another 200 people because we're just losing them like water. Somebody opened the hydrant and people are just flowing out of the company. So the company companies went on mad hiring sprees to get people in the door. And I'm sure it's no different from EA. That's why they went with a contractor approach. So, they pulled in a bunch of contractors, and now their contract is over. It seems like. I don't know the details, and there's not a whole lot of details, but it does sound like this was just another contractor type contract that's come to an end. I don't know if it was early termination of the contract or that the contract was a use by use. So maybe it was only valid for a month or a week, or, they had no valid contract. So we'll see. But Nick, what do you think of this, man? What do you think of this EA, or I guess if you want to say their contractor, Magnet Global, laying off 200 people in a last minute 8 a.m. Zoom call? What do you think about that?
Well, it sounds like they forgot, and then they're like, "Oh crap! Everybody get on a Zoom call. Forgot to do this morning." Yeah, I mean, for contract work, you're kind of, when you do contract work, you kind of know that, any day can be your last day, right? Because if they just decide, hey, you know what, contract's over, we're out. They don't give you the same courtesy as you're supposed to give the business, right? 2 weeks and all that crap. No, they're just like, you know what? It's Monday and it's 9:00. You're fired. And you're like, oh, thanks. That's really helpful. I think companies should give heads up if they're going to. I mean, granted, some employees might say, screw you and walk off and never come back. But at least that gives them, if for those employees who don't, that gives them a couple of weeks to go find some other job. Otherwise, instead of just being screwed until they can get something new, right? But yeah, if you're going to have contract work, you kind of know it's going to happen. It was just, I don't know. We don't know the specifics of how it got to where it got. But, if there was some lead up time where these individuals knew that this was kind of coming down the pipeline, I think that would have helped, hopefully, with them kind of starting to look for other things as they kind of sit in this contract. But yeah, with a contract job, can't really blame EA too much on this one, unfortunately, because it's like, companies cut contracts all the time, right? When you do contract work, I've done contract work, and yeah, they just decide one day that they're done with you pretty much, and off you go. So that's just, it is how it is. It sucks for those individuals. Hopefully they can get turned around and find some other contract work or something else. Maybe through the same company, the Magenta or whatever. I'm assuming they do contracting work for a lot of different things. I assume, I'm not sure, but, or they can find a permanent job or something like that. But, yeah, it sucks, all I say is just, in this case and in a lot of cases, some heads up would be nice, right? For individuals, right? Not just in this case, but just in all around, right? If you're going to fire somebody, a little heads up can go a long way to help that individual find something new without just being out on the street that day, right? And no way to turn things around or find something else. You got to scramble. If you get fired or let go, you got to scramble to find something else, right? You don't have that time that you give companies when you have to give your 2 weeks, and the company has time to go find somebody else to fill your spot, but they don't give you the same courtesy. It's bull. Dookies. Anywho, that's what I think. What about you, Shane? What do you think?
Well, have you ever wanted to do a big load of cocaine in the mornings, but you were worried about getting a drug test from work? Good news, you're fired. That's exactly what's happening. I think it's a bunch of crap that they can't give you. They're not required to give you a notice. Especially on a mass layoff. I mean, it's not like, you screwed something up at work and they're firing you because of poor performance or an error or something. They just dropped 200 people, 200 families are affected. I think it's wrong and immoral, and I can blame EA for it. I blame them for hiring a company to run these 200 people and then just drop them like they're garbage, like they're, all that work they have done has been worth nothing. 2 weeks notice. I mean, if I have to give it, they should have to give it in this situation. And they should be paid for another 2 weeks afterwards. That's my personal feelings. I think it's a load of crap that they can just hurt a person that way because of their financial issues. But, and some people, oh, well, that's not, that's not, free commerce or whatever. That's a load of crap still. It's still immoral. It's still wrong. But it just angers me so freaking much. But you are correct, though. They are contract. I mean, they know that contract can end at any time. They signed the contract. They should know. But it still doesn't mean it's right or moral or anything like that. Hopefully, they can all land on their feet. But I would like to think that they were prepared for it too, because I mean, the way the market's been going, the way Pat described all these layoffs and stuff, and the Apex team has already laid off employees already. Now they're laying off the quality assurance people, and there's no telling who else that's gonna be affected by all this. Apex still does really well from what I understand, so hopefully this is not a permanent thing. Maybe they're about to drop Apex 2. It's Apex here. I don't know. But maybe we'll get lucky and they'll get lucky and they'll get some jobs back. But unfortunately, the way this was done is just disgusting. I mean, I mean, you guys both work from home. I mean, your boss says, hey, get on a Zoom call. Me, I'm going to be gun shy as hell now if I get asked to get on a Zoom call. But my boss will be, he's a good man. He'll fire me in person. So hopefully, these people get their jobs. Hopefully, they'll find something that's steady and they don't have to worry about this situation. But, it's the field they're in. Unfortunately, this field right now is weak. So, we just have to see what happens with them. Unfortunately, it's a crappy situation. Pat?
Yep. So I did find an article from Louisiana Illuminator that kind of claims there's maybe a little bit of other things going on here. According to some of the people that were laid off, they claim that this letting go of them or laying off is retaliatory, that they were trying to form a union. But the article is kind of wish-washy because it also states that they were trained. So I'm kind of feeling that these guys knew what was going down because it said they were training some other QA testers in UK and Romania when, elite in the months leading up to this. So it kind of sounds like, and then their workloads were dwindling. So it kind of sounds like they were shifting workloads to some place with lower wages. It sounds like, but so just for some good news out of this, they were all given 60 days severance. So basically 2 months worth of severance. So,
good.
I mean, not the best thing to be. Nobody wants to get laid off and looking for another job, but to get a 2 month severance package is pretty good. And you're in the US. So, I don't know enough about employment law and how severance goes into unemployment, but, might be able to get some unemployment on top of that severance. But this article also kind of contradicts the numbers and says that Louisiana Economic Development has reported that numbers reaching as high as 500 workers at the EA's LSU facility. So no other information. I don't know if that's over the course of a 12-month period or just in the recent. So that's, there's some good news and bad news in there. If it really is retaliation, it's really bad on EA's part, but I wouldn't put it past the EA to do something like that. Who would put their right mind? I wouldn't bet against anything stupid that EA does. If somebody says EA shot an employee to the moon on the front of a rocket, I'd be like, I believe that just for the fun of it. I'd believe it. I mean, I would never bet against any stupid thing that EA can do, because that's that's them. So getting a little bit of severance is good. If it's retaliatory, that's really garbage because the whole gaming industry right now is unionizing. If you just listen to it, you're like new game development studio unionizing. Every week you hear about a new studio unionizing.
Didn't Activision Blizzard have was it their quality assurance people, a bunch of them unionized?
There is a bunch of unions at Activision Blizzard right now. I don't know what all divisions have their own union, but there are a lot of unions popping up at Activision Blizzard right now.
Gotcha.
And a lot of those unions are backing the acquisition by Microsoft because they think Sony will help bring in some clarity into that because I think they already deal with unions. So they're and they've already said they will back whatever unions are that are
Yeah.
coming to play there. So
Yeah. Now I'm not pro union, but I'm definitely anti bullcrap company too. So I mean, I see a pro and a con with unions, but in this situation, they definitely needed a union to protect them. Uh, but that's if the article is accurate. It is retaliatory if they were trying to unionize, which I don't doubt. Like you said, a lot of the gaming industry is unionizing. So at least they're getting at 60. That makes me feel a little bit better for these guys, that are, that were let go. But wow, when you said 500 though, that's
according to that, the Louisiana Illuminator, which is like their newspaper or whatever, I guess. That's the number that they listed, up to at least 500.
damn. That's a lot of people. That sucks. My heart goes out to them. Even with a 60-day, help, it's still too much.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks. At least they got a severance. I know plenty of companies do layoffs and nobody ever gets severance. Certain states, like you were mentioning, that have requirement, like California has requirement laws that says if you're laying off, you must give an X number of days. So certain states have it. The federal government hasn't stepped in and said, hey, you have to do X, Y, and Z if you're shutting the doors down or laying off people. So, which I honestly think there should be, I'm not a huge union fan either, just because I've seen a lot of abuse by the unions. They do good. They did good, but now there's a lot of abuse, by unions. There's a lot of good unions out there too. I mean, they can't lump all of them in with a one statement, right? But they can do good, but once they've done good, they can cause harm, and they have caused harm. I've worked for companies that have had unions, and the union caused the company to be like, well, we're shutting this location down because you guys are being unreasonable with your requests. I had plenty of friends who lost their job because the union came in and said, we're going to strike. And the company said, you strike, we're shutting the doors. And the union tried to call their bluff. And the company was like, I ain't playing. Everybody gone. We'll move this to another part of the country, So, and I'm not talking about, people that were underpaid or anything like that. I'm talking people making 20. This is 10, 15 years ago. Actually, I forget, I'm in my 40s now. This was 20 some years ago. People making $27, $28 an hour, arguing over a 5-cent insurance hike increase, then jobs shutting down because of it. So unions can do good, but they can also do bad when they get a little bit greedy. So, but unions got pulled in because there was a need for them to start with, So, but it is what it is, and I'm glad to hear these people got a little bit of something, but. If this is retaliatory, then sounds like there needs to be an investigation into EA, and EA need to be investigated for it. And if it comes out to find it, I hope these people can get larger than 60-day severance package. They get fined big time by the government. Yeah, we're gonna give those 500 people some Call of Duty money. So
yeah, give that rocket to the moon money.
Yeah, well, let them shoot one of those execs over to the moon.
Yeah.
Be like, we're gonna do EA executive roulette. Which one's getting shot to the moon on the front of a rocket?
Oh, and then they could make a DLC where you could win the right to push the button to launch their ass.
You get to pick the coordinates and push the button.
Oh, I've got coordinates.
So yeah. All right. So like I said, that's a lot of people. 200 or 500. There's still a lot of people. But severance pay does lessen the burden a little bit. But 60 days goes by really quick when you're looking for a job with 200 to 500 other people in the same area that you're in. So, especially in the same industry, same type of work, same area. It's not like it doesn't seem like these people were working from home. They're all in a Baton Rouge, Louisiana office. So, either of you guys got anything you want to say about this one before we hope they investigate EA?
No, just sucks for them. And FEA.
FEA in the EA. FEA in the EA. All right. All right, guys. Well, let us know what you guys think. Do you know anybody out there listening was part of this group? Do you know if it really was 500 people, and was it really retaliation? And plus, You know, I've heard of this. I've never been one of these people to train my replacement, but that's got to be a really crappy thing to do. You know, let me know how that kind of feels, you know, to train your replacement. And maybe it wasn't, you know, there's always new people coming in, you know, bringing in new people. You have to train them. You know, what's the hindsight on training your replacement? You know, how's that, you know, how'd that go over, you know? So let us know down in the comments. And if you're not subscribed already, you made it to the end of the video. So why not subscribe? Like the video, hit the bell for notifications, you know, help us out, help us so we can keep making these articles, keep reviewing games, and keep making YouTube comments, make some comments, but so we could keep making content. So, you know, so help us out. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope to catch you the next time.
See ya.